Welcome, welcome everybody to another episode of the Third Hour of Power. This is Grady of This Mormon Life, and this week we are talking about Chapter 15 of the Ezra Taft Benson Manual, which is the Sacred Callings of Fathers and Mothers. And I invited two guests this week to talk with us about this lesson, and they are Brian and James from the 25th month. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
We're so glad to be here, Grady. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, we're very
Yeah.
excited about this, Grady. Thank you.
Right, so the first voice you heard, that was Brian, and then the second one was followed by James. Brian, why don't you take a second just to tell us quickly about what the 25th month is?
Yeah, so the 25th month is a company that James and I started to really give added value to the return missionary, to help them in that transition period of life to get set on the foundation of a successful life. We want to help our return missionaries to figure out their career, figure out their education, figure out dating and marriage and all those fun things that come with it. A lot of return missionaries come into that overwhelmed period, and we're here to help them through our events and training so they can really find success in life.
Nice, nice. You know, there's a big problem right now with missionaries going inactive after they come home from their missions. And one of the things I think is important is that they find value as they come and return to church again, and they go to sacrament, Sunday school, elders quorum, Relief Society, that they find value in there. That's part of what we do here at the Third Hour of Power, is we talk about the lessons to kind of help give everyone a heads up of what's good sometimes. Likewise, if they have a teacher or if you are a teacher and you are trying to find content or trying to find new ways to approach the subject, listening to the podcast is going to be able to help you to get some inspiration and some ideas on how to share the lesson for this week. This week it's nice. I'm a father and I have a wife who's a mother, and so it's exciting learning about President Benson and kind of what they thought about their roles as fathers and mothers. His wife Flora was a great help to him, and one of the things he talks about in the beginning of the lesson, he says that Flora actually wrote this. She says that if you want to find greatness, don't go to the throne, go to the cradle. There is mighty power in a mother. She is the one who holds hearts, lives, and shapes character. Have you guys had a lot of influence from a good mom in your life, whether that's your wives or whether it's your own moms?
I personally think that the mother's role is there's nothing more important. I have an interesting background on that, but my mom has been so influential to me. She's always been there for me and has never let me be alone, and that's something that has really shaped my life for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things that it was interesting. I was talking to my boss at work, and we were just having a one-on-one, just talking about just general chit chat. He's not a member of the church, but he knows that I am, and he asked me, he says, do Mormons encourage women to stay home? And I thought about it, because sometimes there's those questions that when you say an answer that might be direct, it might be taken the wrong way. But I thought, you know what, I'm not going to mince words. Yes, mothers are encouraged to be in the home with the children, because that is the place where they can have the greatest influence for good in society. As I know with my wife and our children, we make sacrifices to make sure that she can stay home with them, because no one's going to take care of them like she will, and no one's going to teach them like she will, because that's her divine role as a mother, and she's really, really good at it.
Yeah, I can say, my own personal experience for myself too. 10 years of my life with my mom, not being a member of the church. My mom had drug addictions and so forth, which brought a big place to be. And so having that for the first half of my childhood, moving to live with my dad's stepmom, and my stepmom being a member of the church, and that's how I eventually got introduced into it. But having stepmom who was LDS and teaching me the gospel, teaching me light and truth, and eventually led to me joining the church and going on a mission, brought so much happiness in my life. And that's had a great impact in what my life could have been or where I'm at today. So I definitely to a mother.
Yeah. What else stood out to you guys in the lesson?
One of the things I really liked is that, as President Benson talked about his wife, and his kids talked about his wife, that she was the one that was always there. She was the one that was always the strength in their family, and they had a busy father that was out a lot, but she was the one that was always the trainer. I think that came up in the lesson a few times. I really like that she was the trainer, and I think that as a mother takes that responsibility on as a training, as the chief master of training, I think that the children can turn out phenomenally because of that.
Yeah, that's where we learn a lot of those first lessons of life happen in the home before the kids even start school or even start going to church classes. That happens in the home. And on the transverse of that, I love that this lesson talks about fatherhood in such a positive way. Ezra Taft Benson has some great words on that, and I am a big fan of lists. I think most of the internet is at this day and age. And one of the things he shares in the lesson is 10. It says that here you go. Just my heart for the fathers in Israel, may I suggest 10 specific ways that fathers can give spiritual leadership to their children. One of the ones that stood out to me was the first one on there. It says that give fathers' blessings to your children, baptize and confirm your children, ordain your sons to the priesthood. These will become spiritual highlights in the lives of your children. I recently just wrote a blog post on fathers' blessings that you can find on the blog at this-mormon-life.com. And my children started school this week, and so I gave them priesthood blessings, the older two. And it was nice because after the fact, I went and I talked to my son and I asked him, hey, thanks for being a good kid. I hope you had a good day at school today. And I asked him, I said, how did you feel about getting a blessing? And he says, I really liked it because after I had my blessing, I felt calm and I wasn't nervous anymore for school because I knew I'd be safe and that I'd be protected. And I just think, that's part of what we do as fathers in our role is to be able to protect our children and make sure that they always feel safe and that they feel like they always have a place to call home and a place to be protected and always loved.
Yeah, I agree. It was great seeing that list, so to say, and I think a lot of times you always hear comments made, whether at a sacrament meeting or in a priesthood meeting or a meeting you'll hear, oh, you just got to go back to do the basics, you got to read, pray, and go to church. And what I like about this is it gives some specifics of living the gospel, not just the general statement that we hear that are applicable to our lives. One of the things to talk about too that I just really stuck out to me is the one-on-one time with your children, and setting aside that time to talk to them about the gospel, to spend time with them. That's a very powerful thing. The thought that keeps coming back, especially now at this time, I know when I was first married, we didn't really have much direction as husband and wife, and then eventually mother and father on what should we do. We both came from as converts into the church and with different backgrounds, and that's again another reason. Even with 25th month, we want to help these young men and young women have that direction of specific things to do that will help them become a better husbands and fathers and better mothers and wives to their children, and have that real direction for it. But it's this checklist was very powerful to read and to look at and self-evaluate too.
One of the things I really liked about this lesson in particular, for the fathers section, talked about that they're there to personally direct family prayers, daily scripture study, weekly family home evenings. And I think that the role of mother is so important, and they do so much. But I think sometimes we as men, and I definitely have to say that I fall in this on occasion, is because those moms are the trainers, they're the ones that are with the kids, taking care and rocking and rolling there. That sometimes as husbands and fathers, we forget that that's our responsibility to take charge, not to be a dictator or to say this is how everything is going to be, but it's more of hey, we're going to have prayer, we're going to have scripture study, and that's on our shoulders as men. And I know that the women already take that responsibility seriously, and that's what I love about our return missionaries that are women that come home. They're so good trainers. They already know how the gospel is to be taught, and so when they teach their children, it's an amazing thing. But as fathers, we need to make sure that that responsibility falls on our shoulders to make sure those things are happening. And it's so easy to fall out of those habits. And if we have a leader in our home that's helping us with those habits, it makes a huge difference. And that's what we want to help return missionaries be, the leaders in their homes, both male and female. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I love that portion too, because I think I think it's always been a problem in the church where trying to make and help our men match and the reverence that our women have for the gospel. Because I think, my own wife, there are times where I realize that, she's leading the way in this, and I'm glad that she's there, and that's part of her role is to help me. And sometimes that helps us to remind me that you should be doing this. You should be the one that gathers your children together to read scriptures. You should be the one that, helps to preside over a family meeting, make sure these things are getting done. And of course she's involved in that process. And a lot of times she's the one that teaches the lesson just because she's had the time to prepare that. And so it's not in any way trying to diminish her influence, but it's the idea that a father's role is to be a leader and to direct the family towards Heavenly Father. But talking about a mother's role, we kind of talked about it a little bit from the opening. A list as well for mothers of 10 things that they can do. And there was one that I liked, and I don't even think it's on the list. There's one part, it's kind of similar to that, but it talks about in the first section, or the first item on the list was that whenever possible, mothers should be at the crossroads of when their children are coming and going from the home. I had a friend in high school, and he talked about how his mom, she worked in a school too, and he loved it because the school was like 4 doors down from the house, and so at lunchtime she'd be home, and when he was in high school he'd come home for lunch, and she was there waiting to meet him. And then when she got out of school an hour before he did, so he came home and she was there, and he just loved the idea of coming home and knowing that mom was going to be there. And it's kind of a silly thing, and it's thing that he can't take care of himself, but just the idea that he's pretty. There's something special about knowing that there's someone in the home that loves you, and that when you come home, they're there waiting for you, and they're happy to see you.
And Grady, one thing I really love about that is the setting the tone. I think if a mother meets their children when they come and go, no matter where that is, they can set the tone for what's going to happen in the next few hours with their children. And if that tone that the mother gives is chaotic, then that's what's going to be experienced in the next few hours. And when it's full of love and appreciation, then that's what they can expect in the next few hours as well. And I think that as we set the tone in our lives for whatever we're working on, it makes it easier to come through with that, to actually complete the goals that we have. And so, again, I have this mindset of the return missionary, but coming back to that, as you set a tone in your life for the things that are most important, that you're meeting those crossroads of your life with intention, then the stuff that comes from that is going to be impactful and amazing. But I think that mothers set the tone for our families for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Anything last thoughts you guys have on this lesson here? I'll take that as a no. What was that, James?
Oh, sorry. One thing I say in when it's describing in the stories, in Ed Benson's book, his children actually reflect on the strong relationship that him and Flora have together, and how they remember them in the living room together, holding hands, singing songs together, reminiscing, having home teachers over, and just that companionship of the husband and the wife together, and what they mean to the children is just it's so vital. So it made me envious. Like, that's how I want my children to remember Wandra, especially as we get older and so forth, that they can reminisce and think about those, even those little. It's pretty special.
Yeah, and that mom and dad are a united front, and that they're happy together. What a great setup that is for a happy marriage to have, a mother and father that love each other so much and are equally yoked in the family responsibilities and equally yoked in the gospel. That is a recipe for success right there. But speaking about being successful, I know that you guys are really passionate about helping missionaries be successful once they get home, and we're here in the Arizona area. Actually, me and James, but you guys have kind of got your own thing going here, and you have an event coming up in August.
Yeah, we do. We're excited about it. It's designed for the return missionary. We're going to cover 6 core principles. We're going to cover spiritual patterns, goal setting, financial freedom. We're going to discuss career counseling, bring in career professionals like lawyers and dentists and to speak to the return missionary. We're also going to talk about personal development and how to improve their lives for the long run. We're talking about dating and marriage. And so in these geared towards the return missionary, so they have a smooth transition, create goals and a plan for their future. August 14th and 15th at the Red Mountain Ranch Country Club. And viewers or listeners for Grady in this group that he does, we're actually doing a promo code. It's Bring My Friends, and this allows the return missionary to come for free to this event at no cost. We appreciate what Grady's doing and the impact that this has for improving the lessons. We also want to improve the return missionary and their experience. We're doing this special thing as a give back to the return missionary. We can only hold 50, the most the venue can hold. But we expect a great attendance, a great experience, and we look forward to seeing the return missionary. So if anyone out there that listens to this knows of a return mission area, please send them to this event. It's going to be fantastic. They can go to 25th Mom and then use the promo code Bring My Friends, all lowercase, and we'd love to see you there.
Awesome.
Real quick, I just want to reiterate real quick that James and I are so passionate about the return missionary. We have so much passion to help. We've seen lives change for the negative. We've seen lives change for the positive when they've got the good habits that James had talked about. And so just real quickly, if you didn't hear James, it's 25thmonth.com, so it's 25thmonth.com. You can find that online, and if you want to get into the event as a return missionary, any return missionary, married or not married, if you've been home for a few years and you're still trying to work through career and education and all that kind of stuff, then go to 25thmonth.com and then enter in the promo code when you get to that page, Bring My Friends, all lowercase, and that way you can jump in for free, which is ridiculous. I mean, we're giving you all kinds of fun stuff, so I don't want to go into a ton of detail, but know that we just want to serve Grady's phenomenal following to help inspire people for the better, and that's what we're all about.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. That's really nice of you guys, and I'm passionate about it too. I mean, I love missionaries, and it's always one of those things where I've been really trying to find ways to help missionaries as they come home, and sometimes, that return home isn't at the 25th month. Sometimes that return home is at the 13th month, or the 8th month, or the 2nd month, and I think it's so important that there are things there to help these missionaries to come home, no matter what stage they're in, to find success and to not get lost in the frenzy that comes around when they return. Brian and James, thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate your input, and I'm excited.
It's been a pleasure to be here, Grady. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so on behalf of James and Brian, my name is Grady of This Mormon Life. That is this-mormon-life.com. And on behalf as well, our benefactors, This Week of Mormons, this has been the 3rd Hour of Power. And until next time, we wish you all a fond adieu.